My beloved child. There is something happening behind the scenes of your life that you cannot fully see yet. And the reason you cannot see it is not because it is hidden from you. It is because the timing of the revelation has been carefully protected. Even now, while you listen to these words, pieces are moving into place. Conversations you have not heard. Prayers you did not know were being spoken. Doors being prepared before your hand ever reaches for the handle. You have wondered why certain chapters ended the way they did. Why some people walked away. Why certain plans collapsed just when they seemed ready to succeed. But what if those disappointments were never punishments? What if they were divine redirections? What if every closed door was quietly guiding you toward a person who was never meant to miss you? Listen closely. Because your future spouse is beginning to discover something about you that is shaking the very foundation of what they thought was possible. Not because of your status. Not because of your appearance. Not because of anything the world celebrates. It is something much deeper. Something far more rare. Something heaven placed inside you long before anyone knew your name. And the moment they begin to recognize it, everything changes. For a long time, you have underestimated your own impact. You believed your kindness was ordinary. You believed your resilience was normal. You believed the battles you survived were simply things you had to endure. But there is a reason your story unfolded the way it did. There is a reason you kept standing when others expected you to quit. There is a reason your spirit refused to surrender, even during nights when nobody knew how much you were carrying. Every scar became wisdom. Every setback became preparation. Every delay became training. And now, someone is slowly beginning to see the masterpiece that was being formed through all of it. Yet here is the part you do not expect. They are not merely attracted to who you are. They are astonished by it. Because what they are discovering does not fit the shallow standards they once relied upon. The more they learn about your heart, the more their assumptions begin to crumble. The more they understand your journey, the more they realize you are unlike anyone they have ever encountered. And this realization is arriving in waves. One moment they feel peace when they think about you. The next moment they find themselves wondering why your presence affects them so deeply. Then another piece is revealed. Then another. Then another. Until they can no longer ignore what is happening. But there is something even bigger unfolding. Something that neither of you fully understand yet. You see, heaven never intended for this connection to be built upon appearances alone. That kind of foundation would never survive what lies ahead. Instead, something far stronger is being established. Something eternal. Something rooted in purpose. Because the person destined to walk beside you was never meant to simply admire your strengths. They were meant to recognize your calling. And when they begin to see that calling clearly, when they finally understand why you are different, why your spirit carries a certain weight, why your presence feels familiar in a way they cannot explain, a powerful shift begins. The questions they once had start turning into certainty. The confusion starts turning into clarity. The distance starts turning into movement. And this is where the story becomes extraordinary. Because there is one truth about you that has not been fully revealed yet. One truth so significant that when your future spouse discovers it, their entire perspective changes forever. The signs are already appearing. The pieces are already connecting. And sooner than you think, the next revelation will leave them speechless. But what they are about to uncover is something even you may not fully realize about yourself. A strange thing happens when destiny draws near. The heart begins recognizing what the mind cannot yet explain. And that is exactly where your future spouse finds themselves now. They cannot fully describe what they are feeling. They try to make sense of it. They search for logical explanations. They tell themselves they are imagining things. Yet every attempt to dismiss it only makes the feeling stronger. Because what is pulling them toward you was never meant to be understood through logic alone. It is being revealed through recognition. A recognition deeper than words. A recognition that whispers, "Pay attention, this person is different." You have spent so much of your life wondering whether anyone would truly see you. Not the version of you that smiles when necessary. Not the version that stays strong for everyone else. Not the version that learned how to hide pain behind perseverance. The real you. The person beneath all the responsibilities. The person beneath all the expectations. The soul beneath the surface. And this is where the miracle begins. Because your future spouse is not being drawn toward a mask. They are being drawn toward the authentic person heaven designed you to become. Every day that passes, another layer is revealed. Another glimpse. Another discovery. Another reason they cannot stop thinking about you. But there is something remarkable about this process. The very qualities you once questioned about yourself are becoming the qualities that captivate them most. The sensitivity you tried to hide. The compassion that others took for granted. The loyalty that was overlooked. The faith that carried you through storms. The courage that kept moving even when certainty was nowhere in sight. What you thought were ordinary parts of your character are becoming extraordinary in their eyes. And they are beginning to ask themselves questions they never expected to ask. Why does this person feel so familiar? Why do their words linger in my mind long after the conversation ends? Why does their presence bring peace I cannot explain? Why do I feel as though I am discovering something precious? The answers are closer than they realize. Yet there is still one obstacle standing between revelation and fulfillment. An obstacle neither of you expected. Because before two lives can fully align, certain lessons must be completed. Certain fears must be released. Certain wounds must be healed. This is why some things have taken longer than you hoped. Not because you were forgotten. Not because your prayers went unheard. But because preparation is still unfolding. And preparation is never punishment. It is protection. Imagine trying to step into a blessing before your hands were ready to hold it. Imagine receiving clarity before your heart could sustain it. Imagine arriving at your destination before learning what the journey was trying to teach. The timing matters. Far more than you realize. And right now, timing is working in your favor. Even if it does not feel that way. Even if there are moments when silence makes you question everything. Even if there are days when progress seems invisible. The unseen work is often the most important work. What is being built beneath the surface today becomes the foundation for what stands tomorrow. And while you continue moving forward, your future spouse is experiencing their own transformation. Old beliefs are falling away. Old fears are losing their grip. Old expectations are being replaced with something greater. Little by little, they are becoming the person capable of recognizing the treasure standing before them. Yet here comes the astonishing part. The more they learn about you, the more they realize that your greatest quality is not something they can immediately see. It is something they feel. It is the light you carry after surviving darkness. It is the peace you maintain despite uncertainty. It is the strength that remains gentle. It is the wisdom born from experience. And this realization is affecting them more deeply than they expected. Because they are beginning to understand that you are not merely someone entering their future. You are someone who was being prepared for it all along. But there is a revelation still approaching. A moment that will connect countless pieces at once. A moment when things that seemed random suddenly make sense. A moment when hidden patterns become impossible to ignore. And when that moment arrives, your future spouse will finally understand why every road, every delay, every unexpected turn was leading toward the same destination. Yet the most surprising discovery has not happened yet. Because the next truth they uncover about you will challenge everything they thought they knew about love, purpose, and the extraordinary path that brought both of you here. Without warning, a single realization can change everything. Not gradually. Not over years. Not after endless explanations. Just one moment. One revelation. One unmistakable understanding. And that moment is drawing closer than either of you realize. Your future spouse has been learning about you piece by piece. A fragment here. A glimpse there. A small discovery that seemed insignificant at first. Yet what appeared to be separate pieces are beginning to form a complete picture. And the picture they are seeing is far greater than they expected. Because they are finally beginning to understand something you have spent much of your life overlooking. The value you carry cannot be measured by worldly standards. It cannot be reduced to achievements. It cannot be defined by titles. It cannot be explained by appearances. What makes you extraordinary exists beneath all of those things. It is woven into who you are. That is why some people could never fully understand you. That is why others misjudged you. That is why certain relationships felt incomplete. They were trying to understand a depth they were never prepared to see. But your future spouse. They are being prepared differently. Every lesson they have endured. Every disappointment they have survived. Every prayer they have whispered in moments of loneliness. All of it has been shaping their ability to recognize what others missed. And this is where the story takes an unexpected turn. Because the discovery that leaves them amazed is not merely about your character. It is about your purpose. There is a reason your journey never looked like everyone else's. There is a reason some paths opened slowly. There is a reason your life often unfolded in ways that seemed unusual. You were never being delayed. You were being developed. While others focused on speed, heaven focused on substance. While others chased attention, your spirit was being strengthened. While others pursued temporary things, something lasting was being built within you. And now, the evidence of that transformation is becoming impossible to ignore. Your future spouse is beginning to notice patterns. The way you encourage people. The way you bring calm into chaotic situations. The way your presence creates safety. The way your words carry weight long after they are spoken. The way your faith remains standing when circumstances suggest it should have fallen. At first, these observations seem small. Almost ordinary. But then they begin adding up. And suddenly they realize they are witnessing something rare. Something authentic. Something they have searched for without knowing how to describe it. Yet there is another layer they have not uncovered. A layer so personal that it explains why your story unfolded exactly the way it did. You see, there were seasons when you thought nothing was happening. Seasons when progress felt invisible. Seasons when you questioned whether your efforts mattered. But hidden seasons often produce the strongest roots. The growth nobody applauds becomes the growth that lasts. The battles nobody sees create strength nobody can take away. And one day, someone comes along who notices the roots. Someone who sees beyond appearances. Someone who recognizes the depth created through every challenge you overcame. That is what is happening now. Your future spouse is beginning to see not only who you are, but what it took for you to become that person. And that realization is stirring something profound inside them. Because they understand how rare it is to find someone whose strength did not harden their heart. Someone whose trials did not destroy their compassion. Someone whose setbacks did not steal their hope. Someone whose waiting did not extinguish their faith. The more they understand this, the more one question echoes within them. How did this person become who they are? And every answer leads them deeper. Every discovery reveals another mystery. Every revelation opens another door. But then, a moment arrives that neither of you expected. A moment when the distance between possibility and reality begins to disappear. A moment when what felt like preparation starts becoming movement. A moment when signs become confirmations. And confirmations become action. This is the threshold you are approaching. Not the ending. The beginning. Because what comes next is not merely about being noticed. It is not merely about being admired. It is about being fully recognized. And when your future spouse finally uncovers the final piece of the puzzle, when they understand the hidden truth that has been quietly shaping your entire journey, their response will be unlike anything either of you imagined. Because the revelation waiting ahead does not only change how they see you, it changes how they see themselves. And that is when everything begins to accelerate. There comes a moment in every divine story when the waiting stops feeling like waiting, and starts feeling like arrival. Not because everything suddenly becomes perfect. Not because every question receives an immediate answer. But because something shifts deep within the soul. A knowing. A certainty. A quiet confidence that what was once distant is now drawing near. This is the season you are approaching. And your future spouse is approaching it too. For so long, both of you have been walking paths that seemed separate. Different experiences. Different challenges. Different lessons. Yet what neither of you fully understood was that every step was moving toward the same intersection. An intersection designed long before either of you recognized its significance. And now, the signs are becoming harder to ignore. Your future spouse is beginning to notice how often your qualities appear in their thoughts. How your values stand out in a world filled with distractions. How the things they once considered most important are being replaced by something deeper. Something more meaningful. Something lasting. It surprises them. Because they never expected their priorities to change this way. They never expected to find themselves valuing character over appearances. Peace over excitement. Depth over surface. Purpose over convenience. Yet that transformation is happening. And with every passing day, it becomes more undeniable. But here is what truly astonishes them. The closer they feel to understanding you, the more they realize there is still more to discover. You are not someone who can be understood in a single conversation. You are not a story that can be summarized in a few chapters. You are a living testimony of growth, resilience, and grace. And every layer they uncover reveals another reason to stay. Another reason to listen. Another reason to believe that something extraordinary is unfolding. Yet there is a challenge hidden within this blessing. Because genuine connections require courage. The courage to be vulnerable. The courage to trust. The courage to step beyond old fears and into unfamiliar possibilities. And your future spouse is standing at the edge of that decision. A decision that will shape more than they realize. You see, recognition alone is not enough. Many people recognize valuable things and still walk away. Many people see opportunities and still choose comfort. Many people encounter destiny and still hesitate. But something different is happening here. The understanding growing inside them is becoming stronger than their fear. Stronger than their doubts. Stronger than the voices that once told them to play it safe. And as that understanding grows, another revelation emerges. One that changes everything. They begin to realize that the qualities they admire in you are awakening qualities within themselves. Your strength inspires their strength. Your faith strengthens their faith. Your hope rekindles their hope. Your courage challenges them to become more courageous. What they first believed was admiration is becoming transformation. And transformation always leads somewhere important. This is why the connection feels different. This is why it carries a weight unlike anything they have experienced before. Because it is not simply drawing two people together. It is calling both of you higher. Calling both of you toward greater purpose. Calling both of you toward the person you were always meant to become. Yet one final veil remains. One final piece of understanding waiting to be revealed. A truth so simple that it is often overlooked. Yet so powerful that once it is understood, nothing looks the same again. Your future spouse is about to realize that the greatest thing about you was never your achievements. Never your talents. Never your accomplishments. It was the way you remained true to who you were becoming even when nobody was watching. The way you continued growing when recognition was absent. The way you chose integrity when easier paths existed. The way you carried hope through seasons that tried to convince you to abandon it. That realization strikes deeper than they expect. Because it reveals something they have been searching for all along. Authenticity. Not perfection. Authenticity. Not performance. Authenticity. Not illusion. And once they see it clearly, there is no returning to the old way of thinking. No returning to shallow expectations. No returning to temporary standards. Only clarity. Only understanding. Only the unmistakable sense that they have discovered something precious. But the next chapter holds an even greater surprise. Because soon, both of you will begin to understand that this connection was never only about finding each other. It was about uncovering a purpose neither of you could fulfill alone. And when that purpose is finally revealed, the meaning of every delay, every lesson, and every unexpected turn will become impossible to deny. The most extraordinary revelations rarely arrive with noise. They arrive with clarity. A clarity so profound that it feels as though a light has been switched on inside the soul. Suddenly, things that once seemed confusing begin to make sense. Questions that lingered for years start finding answers. Pieces that never appeared connected reveal a pattern that was there all along. And this is the revelation drawing near. Not only for your future spouse, but for you as well. Because there is something important you must understand. This story was never about one person discovering another. It was always about two journeys being prepared to converge. Two lives being shaped by experiences that, at first glance, seemed completely unrelated. Yet behind every twist and every turn, a greater design was quietly unfolding. Think about the moments that nearly broke you. The disappointments you never expected. The opportunities that vanished. The relationships that ended. The seasons when you felt invisible. At the time, those moments seemed disconnected. Random. Meaningless. But now a different picture is emerging. A picture that reveals how every experience contributed something essential. Every challenge taught wisdom. Every setback built endurance. Every loss created space for something greater. And your future spouse is beginning to recognize this truth about you. They are beginning to see that your strength did not appear overnight. It was earned. Forged through perseverance. Refined through patience. Strengthened through faith. And that realization leaves a lasting impression. Because in a world obsessed with appearances, they are discovering substance. In a culture focused on instant results, they are discovering depth. In a time when many things feel temporary, they are discovering something enduring. But here is where the mystery deepens. The more they understand your journey, the more they start recognizing their own. They begin seeing similarities they never noticed before. Lessons that mirror each other. Experiences that strangely align. Moments that once felt isolated now seem connected by an invisible thread. At first, they dismiss it. Then they question it. Then they cannot stop thinking about it. Because every new realization points toward the same conclusion. Nothing was accidental. Not the timing. Not the preparation. Not the growth. Not even the waiting. And when that understanding settles into their heart, something remarkable happens. The fear of uncertainty begins to fade. The need to control every outcome begins to loosen. The pressure to have every answer begins to disappear. Because they start trusting what is unfolding. Trusting the process. Trusting the purpose. Trusting the path. Yet there is one final discovery approaching. A discovery that changes the way they see your future together. You see, until now, they have mostly been focused on who you are. Your character. Your heart. Your journey. Your spirit. But soon, their attention shifts towards something even greater. The impact you can create together. The lives you can influence. The encouragement you can bring. The legacy you can build. The difference you can make. And this realization carries tremendous weight. Because it reveals that your connection was never meant to exist solely for comfort. It was meant to inspire growth. To create strength. To multiply hope. To become a source of light in places where light is desperately needed. Suddenly, the relationship becomes larger than romance. Larger than emotions. Larger than personal fulfillment. It becomes connected to purpose. And purpose changes everything. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. Purpose gives direction to effort. Purpose gives value to patience. Purpose turns ordinary moments into extraordinary opportunities. This is why the story has unfolded the way it has. This is why preparation mattered so much. This is why certain lessons could not be skipped. Because what is being built is designed to last. And things designed to last are built differently. Slowly. Carefully. Intentionally. Yet the most breathtaking moment has not arrived. Not yet. Because there is a revelation waiting just beyond the horizon. A revelation so personal, so unexpected, and so powerful that when your future spouse finally understands it, they will realize that everything they thought was leading them toward you was actually preparing them for something far greater than either of you imagined. And when that truth is unveiled, the next chapter will begin with a decision that changes everything forever.